You trust the room you're sitting in right now. Look at the walls. They seem rigid. Look at the space between you and the screen. It seems empty. You trust that this emptiness is just a passive container that holds you. It feels like a stage that never changes. But ask yourself, why do you trust it? Is it because you have tested it? Or is it simply because you have never seen it break? We assume that space is nothing. We assume that if you take away all the atoms and all the stars, you are left with a blank void that does nothing. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if the nothingness is actually a thing? And what if that thing is hiding a secret that contradicts your entire existence? When physicists look at the equations of the universe, they find a terrifying truth. They find that space is not a stage. It is a substance. And like any substance, it can bend. It can twist. And if you push it hard enough, it can snap. We are taught to fear objects. We fear cars crashing. We fear bombs exploding. But we never fear the space itself. But what happens when the container breaks? What happens when the distance between 2 points collapses? We call this collapse a black hole. But even that name is a lie. It implies it is just a hole, a dark spot. But ask yourself, can a hole eat time? Can a hole rewrite history? We usually treat these things as distant monsters, exotic problems for astronomers to worry about. You might think, sure, they are dangerous, but they are light years away. They cannot hurt me. But that is the trap. The existence of a black hole proves that the ground beneath your feet is not solid. It proves that the rules of geometry you rely on to walk across a room are not permanent. They are temporary. They are fragile, and they can be revoked. So ask yourself, do you really want to know what space is made of? Because right now you are sleeping peacefully on top of a trapdoor. And the only reason you do not fall is because the latch is still holding. But for how long? The math suggests that the floor is rotting, and the monsters are not in the dark. The monsters are the dark itself. So how do we grapple with a reality that wants to destroy us? We have to look at it directly. We have to peel back the layers of comfort one by one. We are going to conduct an experiment, but not in a lab. We are going to do it in your mind. We are going to descend into the gravity well. Imagine a spiral staircase leading down into the dark. There are 10 steps, 10 theories, and on each step the universe gets a little less real and a little more terrifying. We will start with the body. What happens to your physical self when you confront the end of space? You might think you just die, but what if death is not the end? What if it is a glitch where you freeze forever? Then we will move to the mind. We will ask, what happens to your memories? If information is destroyed, does that mean your past never happened? And finally, at the bottom of the spiral, we will confront the ultimate horror. The idea that the universe itself is a hologram, a fake projection, and that you are just a flat smear of data on the edge of the abyss. This is not just a science lesson. This is a challenge to your sanity. Because once you see the cracks in the world, you cannot unsee them. You can never go back to believing that the air is empty. You can never go back to trusting the flow of time. So ask yourself, are you brave enough to take the first step? Are you ready to admit that your intuition is a lie? Because the universe is not obligated to make sense to you. It is not obligated to be safe. It is only obligated to follow the code. And right now the code is whispering that something is wrong. Let us take the first step. Let us look at the most basic assumption you have. You assume that time flows. You assume that a second is a second. But what if time is a liar? Let us start with a simple question. What does it look like to fall into a black hole? You have probably seen it in movies. The hero dives in. He falls faster and faster. He screams, and then he vanishes into the blackness. It seems logical. Gravity pulls things in, so things should fall. But physics is not about logic. It is about geometry. And the geometry of a black hole does something that defies all common sense. Imagine you are the astronaut. You jump toward the horizon. You expect a quick death. You expect to hit the bottom. But imagine your mother is watching you from a spaceship far away. She is safe. She is watching through a telescope. You might think she sees you fall. You might think she sees you disappear. But she sees something completely different. As you get closer to the edge, gravity begins to mess with time. To her eyes, you do not speed up. You slow down. Your movements become sluggish. You wave your hand, and it takes an hour to finish the wave. You try to scream, and the sound drags out into a low moan that lasts for days. And then right at the edge, you stop. Completely. To your mother, you never cross the line. You never enter the hole. You simply freeze. You become a statue pasted onto the surface of the darkness. Why does this happen? Because time is relative. The gravity is so strong that it is literally holding back the flow of time itself. So ask yourself, are you dead or are you alive? To your mother, you are frozen forever, just outside the danger zone, a permanent ghost haunting the edge of the abyss. But what about you? What do you feel? This is where the universe splits in two. Because while your mother sees a statue, you feel something very different. You feel yourself falling. You cross the line. You look at your watch and it is ticking normally. You are alive inside the hole while your ghost is frozen outside. How can both be true? How can you be in two places at once? This is the first crack in reality. The universe cannot agree on where you are. But wait, it gets worse. You might think that being frozen is not so bad. At least you are preserved. But think about the light. How does your mother see you? She sees you because light bounces off your suit and travels to her eyes. But near a black hole, light has to fight to escape. It has to climb out of the gravity well. And just like a climber gets tired, the light loses energy. When light loses energy, it changes color. It turns red. This is called gravitational redshift. So as your mother watches your frozen body, she does not just see you stop. She sees you fade. Your image turns deep red, then infrared, then radio waves. You slowly dim until you become invisible, but you never disappear. The information that makes up your body, the pattern of your atoms, it stays there smeared across the horizon. Imagine that. Every single thing that has ever fallen into a black hole is still there, plastered on the shell like a fly on flypaper. If you could see in radio waves, you would see a graveyard of frozen ghosts covering the black sphere. But ask yourself, is that really you? If your information is stuck on the outside, but your consciousness is falling inside, which one is the real you? Are you the data, or are you the experience? Physics does not have a good answer. It suggests that you have been cloned. One version of you dies a slow fading death on the outside. The other version of you falls into a nightmare on the inside. This is the moment where the concept of a single objective reality breaks down. We usually assume that truth is singular. If I am here, I cannot be there. But the black hole says no. You are both here and there. You are both dead and alive. You are a ghost and a prisoner. And the scary part is that you do not get to choose which one is real. Both timelines happen, and you are trapped in both of them. Now let us switch the camera. Let us look through your eyes. You are the version that fell in. You cross the horizon, you feel fine, you are falling through the dark. But try to look back. Look over your shoulder at the universe you left behind. If time stopped for your mother looking at you, then what happens to time for you looking at her? The equations suggest a terrifying symmetry. If her time slows down relative to you, then your time must speed up relative to her. Or rather, the entire universe outside should appear to be in fast forward. Imagine falling. You look back at the patch of sky above you. You see the stars accelerating. You see them spinning like ceiling fans. You see galaxies rotate and merge in seconds. You see stars are born. They live their lives. And they explode. All in the blink of an eye. You're watching the history of the future play out on a screen that is rapidly closing. You are not just separated from your mother by distance. You are separated by epoch. In the few minutes it takes you to fall to the center, billions of years might pass outside. The Earth is gone. The sun is cold ash. The human race has evolved and gone extinct. And you are still falling. You are a time traveler who has taken a one-way trip to the end of eternity. Think about the isolation. It is absolute. You cannot send a message because by the time the message climbs out, there is nobody left to receive it. The universe has died of old age while you were falling. This is the true horror of the frozen star. It is not the crushing gravity. It is the loneliness. You are the last observer of a reality that has already moved on without you. You are falling out of time itself. And as the light from the future hits you, it gets blue shifted. It gets energetic. It becomes a laser beam of history, frying you with the radiation of 1 trillion years. You see the end of the world. And then you hit the center. But before you hit the center, you have to deal with the body. We have talked about time. Now we have to talk about pain. We often think of gravity as a force that pulls us down. You feel it right now. It pulls your feet to the floor. It feels uniform. Your head and your feet feel the same pull. But that is only because the Earth is small. The Earth is gentle. A black hole is not gentle. It brings out the true nature of gravity. Gravity is not a force. It is a gradient. It gets stronger the closer you get. Usually the difference is tiny. The pull on your feet is technically stronger than the pull on your head, but you cannot feel it. But near a black hole, the gradient becomes steep. It becomes a cliff. Imagine falling feet first. Your feet are closer to the center than your head, maybe only by a few feet. But in that short distance, the gravity multiplies. Your feet are being pulled 10 times harder than your head, then 100 times harder, then 1,000 times harder. What does this feel like? It does not feel like falling. It feels like stretching. It feels like 2 giant hands have grabbed you. One holds your head, the other holds your legs, and they start to pull. You might think, I am strong. I can withstand a little stretching. But gravity is relentless. It does not stop when your muscles tear. It does not stop when your bones snap. It keeps pulling until the force binding your molecules together is overwhelmed. We have a funny word for this in physics. We call it spaghettification. It sounds silly, like a cartoon. But the reality is a bio-horror nightmare. It is the complete dismantling of the human form. So what happens when the stretching wins? First, your joints pop. Then your skin tears. But you do not break into pieces. You do not snap in half. Because the gravity is pulling every single part of you. It pulls the blood out of your veins. It pulls the meat off your bones. But it goes deeper. It grabs the cells themselves. It grabs the proteins. It grabs the DNA helix and unwinds it like a piece of yarn. You cease to be a biological organism. You become a stream. A long, thin line of atoms falling into the dark. Imagine a tube of toothpaste being squeezed until it is a mile long. That is you. Your consciousness might flicker for a moment as your brain stretches, but then the neurons drift too far apart to talk to each other. The electrical signals that make up your thoughts can no longer jump the gap. You do not just die, you are deleted. Your complexity is reduced to a simple vertical line. And this brings us to a disturbing question. Is the information lost? The pattern of atoms that made you unique? Your memories, your personality? Where did it go? Did it disappear into the whole? Or is it still trapped in that stream of particles? Physics says matter cannot be destroyed. So technically you are still there. You are just rearranged. You have been formatted. But remember the frozen ghost on the horizon? We said your image was stuck there forever. But we just said your body was pulled inside and turned into spaghetti. So which is it? Are you a frozen image on the shell? Or are you a stream of atoms in the center? This is where the headache begins. This is where the universe starts to contradict itself. Because according to the laws of quantum mechanics, information cannot be copied. You cannot be in 2 places. But the black hole seems to have made a Xerox copy of you. One on the cover, one in the pages. This is the paradox, and it suggests that one of those versions of you is a lie. But which one? The one feeling the pain, or the one seen by the mother? Welcome to the information paradox, the place where physics breaks its own rules to keep a secret. But here is the twist. Everything we just told you about spaghettification assumes a simple black hole, a static black hole that sits still in space. But in nature, nothing sits still. The Earth spins, the Sun spins, the galaxy spins. So it makes sense that black holes spin too. In fact, the math suggests that almost every black hole in the universe is rotating, and some of them are spinning incredibly fast, almost at the speed of light. Why does this matter? Because rotation changes everything. It changes the shape of the drain. In a static hole, gravity just pulls you down. But in a spinning hole, the dragging of space creates a centrifugal force, a force that pushes out. This force fights against gravity, and if the hole is spinning fast enough, there is a zone inside where the stretching stops. This sounds like good news. It sounds like a sanctuary. You might think, great. If I jump into a spinning black hole, I will not be turned into spaghetti. I might actually survive the fall. I might reach the center alive. But this hope is a trap. Because while the rotation saves your body from being torn apart, it exposes you to something much worse. It exposes you to the violence of time. When a black hole spins, it drags space around with it like a tornado. This creates a second event horizon deep inside the dark, a hidden inner wall called the Cauchy horizon. This is the most dangerous place in the universe. It is the line where the past and the future collide, and you are falling straight toward it. You think you have escaped the crushing hands of gravity, but you have just walked into a room filled with radiation, and the source of that radiation is time itself. Let us look at this inner horizon, the Cauchy horizon. It is a boundary of stability. Outside of it, physics is predictable. Inside of it, physics becomes chaos. Imagine you are floating in this calm zone between the outer horizon and the inner horizon. You are alive. You are breathing. You look down and you see the singularity. But in a spinning black hole, the singularity is not a point. It is a ring, a gateway. Some theories suggest that if you fly through the ring, you might enter another universe, or a wormhole. It sounds like science fiction. It sounds like an escape hatch. But to get to the ring, you have to cross the Cauchy horizon. And the Cauchy horizon is blocked by a wall made of light. Think about the light falling into the black hole with you. The light from stars, the light from the cosmic background, the light from your mother's spaceship. It is all falling in. But because of time dilation, the light from the future is also falling in. Remember that outside the hole, billions of years are passing while you fall for a few minutes. All the light that will ever shine in the history of the universe is raining down on the black hole. It has to go somewhere. It piles up at the Cauchy horizon. It cannot go deeper because the time distortion becomes infinite. So it gets trapped. It accumulates. Layer upon layer of photons stacking on top of each other. This creates a sheet of energy, a barrier of infinite density. We call this the blue sheet. Why do we call it the blue sheet? Because of the energy shift. When light falls into a gravity well, it gains energy. It shifts toward the blue end of the spectrum. Blue means hot. Blue means energetic. Usually this shift is manageable. But at the Cauchy horizon, the shift becomes exponential. The light becomes infinitely blue. It becomes hard radiation, gamma rays, X-rays, and things we do not even have names for. Imagine standing in a dark room. Suddenly someone opens a door and the light of a trillion suns blasts in all at once. But it is not just brightness, it is history. That sheet of light contains the entire future history of the universe you left behind. Every star that ever exploded, every galaxy that ever collided, all that energy is compressed into a flash that lasts for less than a second. This is the blue sheet. It is the visual record of eternity compacted into a razor-thin wall, and you have to pass through it to get to the singularity. You thought spaghettification was bad. Spaghettification is just physical tearing. The blue sheet is energetic incineration. It is not just heat. It is information overload. You are being hit by the data of the entire cosmos at the speed of light. It is a firewall in the literal sense. A wall of fire that marks the end of the known map, and the terrifying implication is that you cannot avoid it. If you want to see the center, if you want to know the secrets of gravity, you have to walk through the fire, and the math says nothing can survive that walk. So let us recap the fate of your body. We have looked at 3 theories. Theory 1, the frozen star. To the outside world, you are stuck on the edge forever. A ghost that fades into silence. Theory 2, spaghettification. If the whole is a static, you're torn apart atom by atom and turned into a long, thin stream of matter. Theory 3, the blue sheet. If the whole is spinning, you are vaporized by the accumulated light of the future universe before you even hit the center. Notice a pattern. In every single scenario, the result is the same: destruction. The physical universe does not allow you to enter the sanctum of the black hole and tell the tale. It has built multiple layers of defense: gravity, time, radiation. It is almost as if the universe is trying to hide something. It is trying to prevent you from seeing the singularity. Why? What is so dangerous about the center that reality itself burns you to ash to keep you away? Maybe it is because the center is not part of the universe at all. Maybe it is the place where the code ends. We have destroyed the body. Your biology is gone. Your brain is boiled or shredded. But we are not done, because you are not just meat and bones. You are information. You are a collection of memories, a personality, a soul. Physics has a strict rule about information. It says that information can never be destroyed. It says that if we know the state of every atom now, we should be able to reconstruct the past. But black holes challenge this rule. They threaten to do something worse than kill you. They threaten to delete you, to erase the fact that you ever existed. This brings us to the second spiral, the trap for the mind. We are entering the second act of our nightmare, the information paradox. This is the story of a battle between the 2 biggest theories in physics, quantum mechanics and general relativity. And you are the casualty in this war. Imagine a library. A library contains the history of the world. Every book is a life. Every page is an event. Now imagine you burn the library. The books are turned to ash. It looks like the information is gone, but technically it is not. If you could collect every particle of ash and every photon of light from the fire and put them into a supercomputer, you could theoretically reverse the physics and reconstruct the books. You could read the pages again. This is a fundamental law of quantum mechanics called unitarity. Information is never lost. It is just scrambled. It changes form, but it stays in the universe. This law is the bedrock of cause and effect. It guarantees that the past leads to the present. But now imagine throwing the library into a black hole. The books disappear. Then, as Stephen Hawking discovered, the black hole slowly evaporates. It emits radiation and shrinks until it pops and vanishes completely. Here is the problem. The radiation coming out of the black hole is random. It is just heat. It contains no structure, no text, no memory of the books that fell in. When the black hole disappears, the library is gone. The ash does not contain the data. The books are not just burned, they are deleted. This is the information paradox. And it applies to you. When you fall in, your body dies. But if the paradox is true, your information dies too. This means there is no trace of you left in the universe. It is as if you were never born. The causal chain that led to you is cut. This is not just death. This is ontological erasure. And it terrified physicists for 40 years. Because if black holes can delete information, they can delete the past. And if they can delete the past, then our entire understanding of reality is wrong. So ask yourself, are you permanent? Or are you just a file waiting to be emptied from the trash? Before we explain why you might be deleted, we have to agree on what you are. You look in the mirror and you see a face. You see eyes. You see skin. You think that is you. But physics says that it's just packaging. The atoms in your body are replaced every few years. The carbon in your muscles today was in a potato last week. The water in your blood was in a cloud yesterday. The stuff is not you. The stuff is just rented. So what is the real you? What is the thing that persists from childhood to old age? It is the pattern. It is the specific arrangement of those atoms. It is the connections between your neurons that store your first kiss and your biggest fear. In physics, we call this information. It is the data file that describes the state of your existence. And for a long time, we believed that this file was sacred. We believed that the universe had a strict backup policy. It is called the law of conservation of information. It means that the universe never forgets. You can crush a rock into sand, you can melt the sand into glass, you can grind the glass into dust. But the information about the original rock is still there. It is hidden in the position of every dust mote. If you had a powerful enough computer and you knew the laws of physics perfectly, you could rewind the movie. You could track the dust back to the glass, back to the sand, and back to the rock. This is the promise of science. The past is real because it is recoverable. The cause leads to the effect, and the effect remembers the cause. This continuity is what we call reality. It is the chain that links yesterday to tomorrow. But black holes threaten to break the chain. They threaten to take the file of your life and not just corrupt it, but erase it completely. And if the file is gone, then the rewind button stops working. And if you cannot rewind to the past, then in a very real physical sense, the past never happened. Why is this such a big deal? You might say, so what? I am dead anyway. Who cares if my information is gone? But you should care. Because the entire structure of quantum mechanics depends on this rule. It is called unitarity. Unitarity says that the sum of all probabilities must always equal 1. Something must happen. The story must make sense. If information can be destroyed, then unitarity is violated. And if unitarity is violated, then quantum mechanics falls apart. It means that our predictions about atoms and lasers and computers are just lucky guesses. It means the foundation of modern physics is a lie. So for decades, physicists assumed that black holes were safe vaults. They thought, okay, you fall in and you get crushed, but your information is safe inside. It is locked in the black box. It is out of reach, but it still exists. The universe still knows you are there. The book is not burned. It is just locked in a safe. This was the comfortable compromise. We could accept death as long as we did not have to accept erasure. We could sleep at night believing that the black hole was just a cosmic hard drive, a place where data went to sleep. But then, in 1974, a man in a wheelchair changed everything. Stephen Hawking looked at the edge of the black hole and he saw something that should not be there. He saw a glow. He discovered that black holes are not truly black. They emit radiation. They leak energy. And this discovery turned the safe vault into a furnace. This is the moment the trap snaps shut. Hawking realized that because of quantum fluctuations near the event, horizon black holes slowly lose mass. They radiate particles into space. We call this Hawking radiation. Over billions and billions of years, the black hole shrinks. It gets smaller and smaller as it bleeds energy, and eventually it disappears completely. It pops out of existence, leaving nothing behind but a bath of radiation. Now, here is the problem. The horror is in the details. The radiation that comes out is thermal. It is random heat. It is noise. It does not carry the pattern of the things that fell in. Imagine throwing a dictionary into a fire. The fire burns. Smoke comes out. Ash remains. If you study the smoke and the ash carefully, you might be able to reconstruct the text of the dictionary because the reaction was physical. But a black hole is not a fire. It is a shredder that destroys the paper, and then burns the confetti, and then deletes the smoke. When the black hole finally vanishes, everything you threw into it is gone. The library is not just burned, it is annulled. The particles that come out do not remember you. They do not know if you were a human, or a rock, or a star. They are blank. This means that the connection between the past and the future is severed. If you fall in and the whole evaporates, there is no way even for a god or a supercomputer to know you were ever there. You have been subtracted from the sum total of reality. This is the information paradox. And it is not just a puzzle for nerds, it is an existential threat to the concept of history. If black holes can delete information, it means the universe has amnesia. It means that reality is not a continuous movie. It is a series of disconnected moments where things can vanish without a trace. Think about the implications for you right now. You rely on your memory to know who you are. You rely on history books to know what happened before you were born. But if the universe allows deletion, then how can you trust any of it? Maybe the past you remember is just a random fluctuation. Maybe the history is full of holes where entire civilizations were erased. If the law of conservation is wrong, then anything is possible. Chaos wins. This terrified physicists. It led to a war in the scientific community. On one side was Stephen Hawking saying the information is lost. Deal with it. The universe is messy. On the other side was Leonard Susskind saying no. If information is lost, then physics is dead. We have to save the information. We have to find a way to get the book back out of the fire. They fought for 30 years. And eventually they found a solution. But the solution was worse than the problem. To save your information, they had to do something terrible to your body. They had to invent a new kind of horror. A horror that waits for you exactly at the edge of the hole. They called it the Firewall. Here is the solution they came up with. It is called the Firewall Paradox, or AMPS. It is based on a simple but brutal logic. If we want to save quantum mechanics, we have to ensure that the information about you does not go inside the black hole. It has to stay on the outside where it can be retrieved. But general relativity says you must fall inside. Einstein says the horizon is empty space. You should float through it without feeling anything. We call this the no-drama condition. So we have a conflict. Quantum mechanics says the data must stay out. Relativity says the body must go in. You cannot have both. You cannot be in two places at once. That is called cloning, and physics forbids it. So something has to give. One of the theories must be wrong. Either Einstein is wrong or quantum mechanics is wrong. The physicists looked at the math and they made a choice. They decided to kill Einstein. They realized that in order to keep the data safe on the outside, the boundary of the black hole cannot be empty space. It must be a physical barrier, a wall of high-energy particles, a literal firewall. This theory suggests that space ends at the event horizon. There is no inside. There is no singularity. There is just a hard shell of burning energy. When you fall toward a black hole, you do not pass through a ghost-like horizon. You hit a brick wall of pure heat. You are vaporized instantly upon contact. Your information is scrambled and radiated back out into the universe, but your journey ends there. The rabbit hole has a lid, and the lid is made of fire. Let us stay with the firewall for a moment because the implications are shattering. We are not just talking about a hot wall. We are talking about the death of geometry. Think about how you move through the world. You assume that space is continuous. You assume that if you walk forward, there will always be more space in front of you. You might hit a wall made of brick or a wall made of wood, but those are objects sitting inside space. The space itself continues on the other side. You can drill through the brick, you can burn through the wood, you can always go further. This continuity is the basic promise of the universe. It promises that the map has no edges. It promises that you can fly a rocket forever and never hit a sign that says the end. But the firewall theory breaks that promise. It suggests that space actually stops. It suggests that the event horizon is not a doorway to a mysterious inside. It is the physical termination of the universe. Imagine sailing a ship across the ocean. You expect the water to go on forever or until you hit land. But imagine you sail to a certain line of latitude, and suddenly the ocean just stops. Not because there is a continent, but because the game engine ran out of memory. There is nothing beyond that line. Just a wall of error code that incinerates anything that touches it. That is the firewall. It tells us that the black hole is not a hole at all. It is a blister on the skin of reality. It is a place where the smooth fabric of space-time has been tied into a knot and sealed shut. If this theory is true, then there is no singularity waiting for you. There is no time distortion inside. There is no spaghettification deep in the dark. There is only immediate and total annihilation at the surface. The moment your toe touches the horizon, you are unmade. You are converted into pure energy to satisfy the laws of quantum mechanics. It is the ultimate betrayal of Einstein. Einstein told us that space is smooth. He told us that falling is safe. The firewall tells us that space is finite, and it has a hard, jagged edge that will kill you if you get too close. This changes the black hole from a mystery into a monster. It is not hiding a secret. It is hiding nothing. It is simply the place where the universe ends and the burning begins. So ask yourself, do you trust the empty air in front of you? Do you trust that it will let you pass? Or is there a line invisible and silent waiting in the dark where the rules of movement simply cease to apply? The firewall says the line is real, and it is waiting. But maybe you do not like the firewall. Maybe the idea of space just ending feels too wrong, too artificial. Physicists felt the same way. They hated the firewall because it destroyed the elegance of general relativity. They wanted a theory that saved the information but kept the space. So they turned to the strangest idea in modern science, string theory. To understand this, we have to change how we see matter. Look at your hand. You see skin. Zoom in and you see cells. Zoom in again and you see molecules. Then atoms. Then electrons and quarks. We usually think of these subatomic particles as tiny dots, little billiard balls bouncing around. But string theory says that is an illusion. It says that if you zoom in far enough, you will see that the dot is not a dot. It is a loop, a tiny vibrating string of energy, like a guitar string. If it vibrates one way, it looks like an electron. If it vibrates another way, it looks like a quark. The music of these strings creates the symphony of reality. Everything you are and everything you see is just cosmic music. Now apply this to a black hole. In the standard picture, we crush all the matter down to a single point called the singularity. But strings cannot be crushed to a point. They have size. They take up space. So when a star collapses into a black hole, the strings do not disappear. They do not get squeezed into nothing. Instead, they get tangled. Imagine a giant ball of yarn, a messy, chaotic knot of vibrating threads. This is called a fuzzball. It sounds cute. It sounds harmless. But it is one of the most destructive concepts in physics. The fuzzball theory proposed by Samir Mathur suggests that a black hole is literally a giant planet made of tangled strings. It has no event horizon. It has no empty space inside. It is a solid object, a dark, fuzzy star that has grown to fill the entire hole. This solves the information paradox because the information is not lost inside a pit. It is woven into the surface of the ball. Your data is stored in the vibrations of the strings. But the price of this solution is the destruction of the black hole as a concept. It means there are no holes in the universe. There are only knots. And if you fall onto one of these knots, you do not fall in. You land on the surface. But you cannot stand on this surface, because it is not made of matter as you know it. It is made of the raw ingredients of existence. And it is hungry. Let us look at what happens when you touch a fuzzball. It is very different from the firewall. The firewall burns you with heat. The fuzzball dismantles you with mathematics. Imagine you are falling toward this dark sphere. As you get close, you expect to pass through the horizon into the darkness. But instead, you hit a fog, a thick quantum soup. This is the atmosphere of the fuzzball. As your body enters this zone, the strings that make up your atoms begin to resonate with the strings of the black hole. It is like bringing a tuning fork close to a vibrating speaker. The tuning fork starts to shake. Your atoms start to shake. The bonds that hold your molecules together begin to loosen. The electrons stop orbiting the nucleus. The quarks stop holding hands. The structure that makes you a human being dissolves, but it is not violent. It is not an explosion. It is a transformation. You are being translated from one language to another. You are being translated from the language of biology and chemistry into the language of pure string vibration. Your complexity is unraveled. The strings that used to be your brain are merged into the giant ball of yarn. You become part of the fuzz. You become a note in the song of the black hole. This is a terrifying form of death because it is so complete. You do not leave a corpse. You do not leave ash. You simply cease to be a distinct entity. You merge with the collective. The information that was you is spread out over the entire surface of the star. You are everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It challenges the very idea of individual existence. We define ourselves by our boundaries. I end here. The world starts there. My skin is the border. But the fuzzball says that borders are flexible. It says that under extreme gravity, the distinction between you and the object you touch disappears. You become the object. You become the whole. It is a form of cosmic assimilation. You are not destroyed. You are integrated. And in that integration, yourself is lost forever. You are just another vibration in a dark ball of noise floating in the silence. So, what does it feel like to be a fuzzball? If your consciousness survives the unraveling, what do you experience? You are no longer a brain in a body. You are a pattern of waves on the surface of a collapsed star. You are trapped in a state of chaotic vibration. There is no sight because there are no eyes. There is no sound because there is no air. There is only the hum, the eternal thrumming of the strings. You are locked in a prison of pure energy. And you are not alone. Remember that everything that ever fell into the black hole is trapped there with you. The strings of ancient stars, the strings of gas clouds, the strings of other unlucky travelers. All of it is mashed together in this quantum knot. You are intimately connected to the wreckage of 1,000,000 years of cosmic history. But you cannot talk to it. You cannot separate yourself from it. It is a soup of souls, a graveyard of structure. This theory takes the emptiness of the black hole and replaces it with a suffocating fullness. It tells us that the darkness is not empty. It is too full. It is crowded. It is a solid mass of lost things vibrating in the dark. And because the strings can vibrate in infinite ways, the fuzzball is constantly changing. It shimmers. It breathes. It is a living artifact of entropy. This is the horror of the fuzzball. It turns the black hole into a zombie star. A thing that looks dead from the outside but is teeming with chaotic motion on the inside. And if you fall in, you become part of that zombie anatomy. You become a cell in the body of a dead god. You spend eternity vibrating on the edge of the universe, waiting for a release that will never come. Because unlike the Hawking radiation which slowly leaks out, the fuzzball is stable. It holds onto its strings. It holds onto you. It is the ultimate hoarder. It collects the universe and refuses to let go. It creates a monument of chaos that grows larger with every meal. And you are just the latest course on the menu. We have reached the end of the second spiral. Let us pause and look at what we have lost. In the first act, we lost our bodies. We were frozen by time or stretched by gravity or burned by blue light. We learned that the physical universe is a torture chamber. In the second act, we lost our minds. We learned that our information might be deleted by the paradox. We learned that space might end at a firewall. We learned that we might be unraveled into strings in a fuzzball. We have stripped away your flesh. We have stripped away your history. We have stripped away your individuality. You might think there is nothing left to lose. You might think we have reached the bottom, but you are wrong. We have only destroyed the things inside the universe. We have not yet touched the universe itself. We still assume that the stage is real. We still assume that the three-dimensional world of height and width and depth is a genuine place. We assume that even if we die, the world remains. But the next theories are going to take that comfort away from you. They are going to attack the very concept of reality. They are going to suggest that the black hole is not just a trap for things. It is a projector. And you are not a traveler falling in. You are an image being projected. We are about to enter the third and final act of our nightmare. The ontological trap. The place where we discover that the universe is not a place at all. It is a screen. And the screen has a limited resolution. We are going to look at the holographic principle. We are going to look at the idea that you are flat, that gravity is a lie, and that the vast emptiness of the cosmos is just a trick of the light. So ask yourself, are you ready to wake up from the dream of 3 dimensions? Are you ready to see the pixels? Because the black hole is about to show you the code. And once you see the code, you can never believe in the illusion again. The rabbit hole goes deeper, and it leads to a flat surface at the end of the world. We are crossing the threshold into the third act of our nightmare. We have looked at the physical destruction of the body in the spaghettification process. We have looked at the scrambling of the mind in the information paradox. But now we have to ask a deeper question. A question about the nature of space itself. If the black hole destroys you or unravels you or freezes you, where does it put the data? Imagine the universe is a computer. Every computer has a hard drive. That hard drive has a limit. You can only put so many files on it before it is full. Physics has a similar limit. It is called entropy. Entropy is a measure of disorder, but it is also a measure of how much information you can hide inside a system. For a long time, we thought we understood how this storage worked. We thought it was about volume. Think about a box. A simple cardboard box in your attic. If you want to store more old photographs in that box, you need a bigger box. You need more space inside. If you double the size of the box, you can fit 8 times as much stuff. This is common sense. This is how the world works. We live in a world of containers. Your house is a container. Your car is a container. Your body is a container. We assume that the capacity of the container depends on how much empty space is inside the walls. But when physicists started looking at black holes, they ran into a brick wall. They tried to calculate how much information a black hole could hold. They expected the answer to depend on the volume, on the cubic meters of space inside the hole. But the equations spit out a different answer. A wrong answer. The math said that the storage capacity of a black hole does not depend on how much space is inside. It depends on how much surface area is on the outside. It depends on the skin of the hole. This was a shock to the scientific community. It was like buying a suitcase and being told that it does not matter how deep the suitcase is. It only matters how much leather was used to make the outside shell. If you double the surface area, you double the storage. The inside does not count. This defies all logic. If the inside does not count, then what is inside? Is it empty? Is it full? Or is the concept of inside just a misunderstanding of reality? If the storage limit depends only on the surface, then perhaps the surface is the only thing that is real. This simple mathematical discovery regarding the entropy of black holes led to the most terrifying theory in the history of science. It suggests that the inside of the suitcase does not even exist. It suggests that the clothes you thought you packed are actually just painted on the leather. It implies that the 3-dimensional world we think we inhabit is a lie generated by a 2-dimensional boundary. Let us dig deeper into this discovery because it changes everything about who you are. The man who found it was Jacob Bekenstein. He was looking at the event horizon of a black hole, the point of no return. He wanted to know how detailed it was. We usually think of space as smooth, like water, but quantum mechanics says space is grainy. It is made of chunks. Bekenstein realized that the event horizon is covered in tiny squares. the smallest possible units of space allowed by physics. We call them Planck units. Think of them as pixels, just like the pixels on your phone screen. Bekenstein realized that each pixel on the surface of the black hole can hold exactly one bit of information, a 1 or a 0. This is the Bekenstein bound. It is the absolute limit of data storage in the universe. Now here is the crazy part. Imagine you throw a dictionary into the black hole. The dictionary contains information, words, definitions, ideas. When it falls in the black hole, it has to store that information somewhere. According to general relativity, the dictionary falls into the center. But according to Bekenstein, the black hole grows. The event horizon gets bigger. By how much? By exactly the amount needed to create enough new pixels on the surface to encode the information in the dictionary. The data is not lost inside the hole. It is plastered onto the surface. It is written on the shell like graffiti on a wall. This means that a black hole is not a three-dimensional object holding things inside it. It is a two-dimensional hard drive storing data on its shell. Think about what this does to our concept of space. We are used to living in 3 dimensions, up and down, left and right, forward and backward. We think these directions are fundamental, but the black hole says no. It says that the 3rd dimension, the direction of depth, is redundant. Everything that is inside the black hole can be perfectly described by the data on the outside. You do not need the inside to explain the universe, you only need the surface. This is a radical reduction of reality. It means that deep down, the universe is flatter than we thought. We are not swimming in a deep ocean, we are skating on thin ice. And every object that falls into the gravity well is flattened out and encoded into a stream of 1s and 0s on the edge of the map. This is the first hint that you might be a hologram. Because if a black hole is just a shell, then maybe everything else is just a shell too. You might be thinking, okay, that is weird, but it only applies to black holes. Black holes are monsters. They play by different rules. I am safe here in my room. I am safe on Earth. But physics does not like exceptions. If a rule applies to the most extreme object in the universe, it usually applies to everything else too. This leads us to the holographic principle. To understand it, we need a metaphor. Go to your kitchen. Pick up a can of soup. Look at it. It has 2 parts. It has the soup inside, the goo, the vegetables, the liquid. That is the 3-dimensional content. And it has the label on the outside. The paper wrapper with the picture and the ingredients list. That is the 2-dimensional boundary. In our everyday life, we know the difference. You do not eat the label. The label just describes the soup. But in the world of the holographic principle, the relationship is reversed. The theory suggests that the label is the real thing. The label contains all the information. Every molecule of carrot, every drop of broth, every atom of salt inside the can is perfectly mapped to a piece of data on the label. And here is the horror. The soup is just a projection of the label. The soup is a hologram. When you open the can and eat the soup, you are experiencing a 3-dimensional illusion generated by the 2-dimensional code on the wrapper. Now apply this to the universe. Look at the room you're sitting in. It feels like a can of soup. It has volume. It has air. It has you sitting in the middle. But the holographic principle says that this room is just the projection. The real you. The data that defines your existence is painted on the walls. Or more accurately, it is painted on the cosmological horizon at the edge of the universe. We are all just information stored on a distant screen, and the 3-dimensional world we walk through, the sensation of depth, the feeling of distance, is just a user interface created by that data. We are like characters in a video game. To Mario, the world looks 3D. He can run forward and jump up, but in reality, he is just a set of pixels on a flat monitor. Mario does not know he is flat, and we do not know we are flat. We trust the illusion, because it is the only thing we have ever known. But the black hole is the glitch that reveals the screen. It shows us the pixels, and once you see the pixels, you realize that the game is not real. Let us push this horror to its limit. If the holographic principle is true, then gravity is a lie. Think about it. In a 2D world, there is no down. There is no falling. So where does gravity come from? Why do we feel a pull toward the Earth? String theorists like Juan Maldacena have spent decades working on this problem. They found a mathematical duality, a bridge between two worlds. On one side of the bridge is a universe with gravity, a 3D world like ours. On the other side of the bridge is a universe without gravity, a flat 2D world of pure quantum fields. The math proves that these two worlds are identical. They are the same thing described in two different languages. This is the ADES-CFT correspondence. It is a mouthful. But the implication is simple and terrifying. Gravity is not a fundamental force. It is a byproduct. It is a side effect of the projection. Just like 3D movies require special glasses to see the depth, gravity is the glasses. It is the trick that makes the flat data look deep. This means that the sensation of weight you feel right now, the pressure of your body on the chair, is a hallucination. It is a rendering artifact. The universe is computing your position on a flat grid and simulating the feeling of a third dimension. You are not really sitting there. You are data being processed on the horizon. And the processing creates the illusion of here. This destroys the concept of location. If you are really data on the edge of the universe, then you are everywhere and nowhere. The specific point in space where you think you are standing is just a focal point of the laser. If you turn off the projector, the man in the room vanishes, but the data on the film remains. This suggests that we are ghosts. We are phantoms of information haunting a theatre. We think the play is real, we cry, we laugh, we bleed, but the play is just light hitting a screen. And the black hole is the hole in the screen where the light shines through and reveals the empty wall behind it. This is the ontological trap. It tells us that our existence is derivative. We are not the source code, we are the display. So if space is an illusion, what holds it together? If the 3D world is a projection, what keeps the projector running? This brings us to the most modern and most disturbing idea in physics. The idea that space is stitched together by quantum mechanics. We mentioned earlier that black holes are like knots, but now we have to look at the threads. This theory is called ER equals EPR. It was proposed by Leonard Susskind and Juan Maldacena. It connects two very different things. ER stands for Einstein-Rosen bridges, wormholes, tunnels through space. EPR stands for Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen, quantum entanglement, the spooky connection between particles. The theory says they are the same thing. Every time two particles are entangled, they are connected by a microscopic wormhole, a tiny black hole tunnel. Now zoom out. Imagine the universe is filled with particles, and they are all entangled with each other. This means they are all connected by billions of tiny threads, tiny wormholes. This network of connections is what creates space. Space is not a thing. It is a relationship. It is the web of entanglement between quantum bits. Think of a sweater. The sweater looks like a solid piece of fabric. It covers your body. It keeps you warm. But if you look closely, it is just a single piece of wool tied in thousands of knots. If you pull the thread, the sweater disappears. It unravels. The theory suggests that space is exactly like that sweater. It is woven out of entanglement. And this is where the horror comes in. Because sweaters can unravel. If you break the entanglement between particles, the space between them disappears. It does not just become empty space, it ceases to exist. The geometry dissolves. This implies that the universe is incredibly fragile. It is not a rock. It is a fabric. And it can be torn. If the quantum connections were severed, the distance between your eyes and the screen would not just grow or shrink. It would vanish. You would not be separated from the screen. You would not be connected to it. The concept of separation would be gone. The universe would collapse into a heap of unconnected data points. No space, no time, no distance, just a pile of raw information with no way to organize itself. This is the ultimate fragility. We are walking on a bridge made of spiderwebs, and we are trusting that the spiders keep spinning. We need to stay with this idea of the stitched universe because it is the most dangerous idea in physics. We talked about space being a sweater made of quantum threads. But let us look at what that really means for you. You are sitting in a chair. You feel separated from the wall. You feel separated from the screen. You cherish this separation. It gives you your identity. You are here and the rest of the world is over there. This distance allows you to be an individual. It allows you to move. It allows you to breathe. But if the ER equals EPR theory is correct, then this distance is a lie. The only reason there is any distance at all is because of the invisible quantum connections bridging the gap. Think about a suspension bridge. You drive your car across the water. You look down and you see the ocean. You think the bridge is solid, but the bridge is held up by thousands of thin steel cables. If those cables snap, the bridge does not just get weaker, it falls. It ceases to span the gap. Now imagine that space is the bridge, and the quantum entanglement is the cable. Every cubic inch of empty air in front of your face is sustained by trillions of fluctuating connections. A constant invisible conversation between particles keeping the fabric of reality tight. This implies that space is not a fundamental background. It is an emergent property. It is like heat. Heat is not a thing. Heat is just the movement of atoms. If the atoms stop moving, the heat disappears. In the same way, space is just the entanglement of quantum bits. If the entanglement stops, the space disappears. This is the nightmare scenario. What happens if the network goes down? We worry about the internet going down. We worry about the power grid failing, but nobody worries about space failing. Nobody worries about the geometry of the room crashing. But if space is a network, then it can crash. Imagine a wave of decoherence sweeping through the universe, a scissors cutting the quantum threads. It starts in the corner of the room. The entanglement breaks. Suddenly the distance between the wall and the chair vanishes, not because they moved closer, but because the concept of between no longer exists. The wall and the chair are instantly superimposed. Then it hits you. The entanglement holding your atoms together snaps. The space inside your body collapses. Your left hand and your right hand are suddenly in the same place. Your brain and your feet merge. You are not crushed by gravity. You are deleted by geometry. The universe folds itself up like a collapsed tent. This is the horror of the emergent space-time theory. It tells us that we are living inside a delicate construction, a temporary tent pitched in a void of nothingness, and the ropes holding the tent up are made of the most fragile thing in the universe, quantum probability. We are trusting our lives to a system that is fundamentally random. We are walking on a floor made of dice, and every moment of every day, the universe is rolling those dice to decide if there should still be a floor. So far, we have been lucky. The entanglement holds, the bridge stands, but the black hole is the place where the cables are being pulled to their breaking point. It is the stress test. And when we look at the black hole, we see the network fraying. We see the threads snapping. We see the raw void peeking through the holes in the fabric. And we realize that the solid world we love is just a thin cloth thrown over a chaotic abyss, and the cloth is tearing. We have dismantled your body. We have dismantled your mind. We have dismantled the space you live in. But we still have not answered the biggest question. Why? Why does the universe exist at all? And why is it filled with these monsters? Why are there black holes everywhere? A rational person looks at the cosmos and thinks that life must be the point. We look at the stars and the planets and we think this is a garden built for us. We think the universe is a machine designed to produce consciousness, to produce biology, to produce you. But there is a theory that suggests we are completely wrong. It suggests that we are not the point. We are not the goal. We are not even the main character. This theory comes from the physicist Lee Smolin, and it is called cosmological natural selection. It takes the logic of Charles Darwin and applies it to the laws of physics. Think about how evolution works on Earth. Animals reproduce. They pass on their genes. The animals that are best at surviving and reproducing fill the world with their children. Smolin asked a simple question. What if universes reproduce? What if the Big Bang was not the beginning of everything but the birth of a baby universe from a parent universe? And how does a universe reproduce? What is the mechanism of birth? Smolin looked for an object that takes matter, crushes it down to a single point, and then maybe spits it out on the other side. He found only one candidate: the black hole. The theory suggests that every time a black hole forms a new universe is born inside it. The singularity is not a dead end. It is a seed. It is the fertilized egg of a new cosmos, expanding into a new dimension that we cannot see. If this is true, then the purpose of a universe is to reproduce. The goal of the cosmos is to make as many black holes as possible. A universe that makes no black holes is sterile. It dies without children. A universe that makes trillions of black holes is fertile. It passes on its physical laws to the next generation. This explains the fine-tuning problem. Physicists have always wondered why the laws of gravity and the nuclear forces are just right. If gravity was a little weaker, stars would not form. If it was a little stronger, the universe would collapse too soon. We used to think this fine-tuning was for us. We thought gravity was just right so that we could live. But Smolin says no. Gravity is just right so that stars can collapse. Gravity is tuned for black hole production. The universe is optimized for making monsters. We look at the night sky and we see a beautiful tapestry of light. But the universe looks at the night sky and sees a factory floor. It sees a massive industrial operation designed to crush matter into singularities. The galaxies are not neighborhoods, they are assembly lines. The stars are not energy sources for life. They are fuel for the furnaces. The entire machinery of the cosmos from the Big Bang to the present day is geared toward one single goal: reproduction through collapse. And this leads to a devastating realization about our place in the grand scheme. If the black hole is the goal, then what are we? What is humanity? What is life? Let us be brutal. Let us look at ourselves through the lens of this theory. If the universe is a machine designed to build black holes, then life is a byproduct. We are not the customer. We are the pollution. Think about a factory that makes cars. The goal of the factory is to produce as many cars as possible. But the process of making cars creates side effects. It creates heat. It creates noise. It creates scrap metal and chemical sludge. If you were a bacterium living in the chemical sludge, you might look around and say, "Wow, this factory is perfect for me. There is so much sludge. The factory must have been built to provide me with this home." But you would be wrong. The sludge is just waste. The factory does not care about you. It tolerates you because scrubbing you out is too expensive. We are the bacteria in the sludge. The process of star formation is necessary to make black holes. You need gas clouds to collapse into stars, so that the massive stars can eventually die and become singularities. But gas clouds also contain carbon and oxygen and nitrogen. As the stars form and burn, they cook these elements. They sprinkle them into the void. And sometimes in the debris field of the factory floor, these leftover chemicals clump together. They form planets. They form water. They form DNA. They form brains that ask questions. But to the universe, this is all just inefficiency. Every atom of carbon in your body is an atom that failed to become a black hole. Every star that shines on a planet is a star that is wasting energy that could have been used for collapse. We are the sawdust on the floor of the woodshop. We are the exhaust coming out of the tailpipe. We exist only because the process of making black holes is messy. Evolution and biology are just the mold growing on the unwashed machinery of cosmic reproduction. This is the ultimate humiliation. We spent thousands of years telling ourselves we were the center of creation. We told ourselves that God made the stars for us to navigate. We told ourselves that the sun shines to grow our food. But the reality is that the sun shines to build an iron core that will one day collapse. We are just huddled around the waste heat of a reproductive engine. And the scary part is that we are fragile. The factory does not care if the mold survives. If a gamma ray burst sweeps through the galaxy and sterilizes Earth, the universe does not mourn. It does not pause. It just keeps grinding gas into gravity wells. It keeps making babies. We are alone in a cold indifference that is far worse than hatred. A hostile universe at least acknowledges you. An indifferent universe simply does not notice you. We are walking through a construction site without a hard hat, and the heavy machinery is moving all around us, blind and deaf to our screams. This is the cosmological horror. The realization that the grandest events in the sky are not for us, and the monsters we fear are actually the beloved children of the cosmos. We have looked at the past where black holes are born. Now we must look at the future where they rule. You think the universe is old. You think 13 billion years is a long time, but you are wrong. The universe is not old. It is an infant. It has barely opened its eyes. We are living in the brief, violent flash of the beginning. This era, the era of stars, the era of light and life. It is a tiny fraction of the total lifespan of the cosmos. It is like the first split second of a fireworks display. We are dazzled by the explosion. But the explosion is not the main event. The main event is the smoke. The main event is the ash drifting in the dark. Fast forward the clock. Let us skip the boring parts. The sun will die in 5 billion years. It will swell up and eat the earth. Then it will shrink into a white dwarf. Then it will cool down into a black cinder. But that is just the beginning of the end. One by one, the lights will go out. The massive stars will explode. The medium stars will fade. The tiny red dwarf stars will burn their fuel slowly for trillions of years. But eventually even they will stutter and die. The galaxies will drift apart. The expansion of space will push the neighbors away until the sky is perfectly black. And then something terrifying happens to matter itself. We assume protons are stable. We assume the atoms in your body will last forever, even if you die. But many theories suggest that protons decay. Matter has a shelf life. Given enough time, the atoms that make up the planets and the dead stars will simply fall apart. They will dissolve into subatomic dust. But there is one thing that does not dissolve. One thing that survives the great rot. The black hole. When the lights go out, the black holes will inherit the universe. This is called the black hole era. Imagine a universe that is completely dark. No stars, no planets, no gas clouds. Just an endless freezing void. And floating in that void are the monsters. The supermassive black holes that used to anchor the centers of galaxies are now drifting alone in the deep night. They are the kings of a dead world. They have eaten everything there is to eat. There is no more gas. There is no more dust. They are starving. But they are still there, holding on to their mass, holding on to the information of the civilizations they swallowed. They are the silent vaults of history drifting through a graveyard that stretches for infinity. This era will last longer than you can comprehend. If the era of stars was 1 second long, the era of black holes would be a billion years long. This is the true state of the universe. We think the universe is a place of light, but the universe is actually a machine for making black holes and then letting them sit in the dark for eternity. We are just the brief flash of energy required to build the vaults. And once the vaults are built, the construction crew is dismissed. The lights are turned off, and the long silence begins. But even monsters must die. The second law of thermodynamics is the ultimate predator. It hunts everything, even black holes. We talked about Hawking radiation earlier. We said that black holes leak energy. For a massive black hole, this leak is incredibly slow. It is like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. A supermassive black hole might take a number of years that requires a 1 followed by 100 zeros to evaporate. It is a length of time so vast that if you wrote it down, the paper would fill the observable universe. But physics has infinite patience. The black hole sits there in the dark. Emitting one photon at a time, slowly, very slowly it shrinks. It loses mass, it gets smaller. And as it gets smaller, it gets hotter. It radiates faster. After an eternity of slow decay, the black hole enters its death throes. It becomes unstable. It begins to scream radiation into the void. And then, in the final fraction of a second, it explodes. The last remaining structure in the universe pops out of existence. It releases all its energy in a blinding flash of gamma rays. And then, silence. One by one, across the dark universe, the black holes will pop. Like bubbles bursting in a bath that has gone cold. The last vaults of information will crack open and spill their contents into the void. But there is nobody there to catch it. The information scatters. It spreads out until it is indistinguishable from the background noise. This is the heat death. This is the state of maximum entropy. The universe reaches a temperature of absolute zero. There is no energy. There is no structure. There is no movement. Nothing can ever happen again. Think about what that means. Time requires change. If nothing changes, time ceases to have meaning. The clock does not stop ticking. The clock itself dissolves. This is the ultimate destiny of everything you love. Every memory, every song, every struggle, every atom of your body. It all ends in a sea of cold, featureless photons. The black holes were the last line of defense. They were the last things holding on to structure. But when they go, the story is truly over. The book is closed, and the book is burned, and the ash is scattered. This leads us to a feeling of total hopelessness. If the end is zero, then what was the point of the one? Why did we struggle? Why did we build cities? Why did we look at the stars if the stars were just fuel for a dying fire? This is the peak of the horror. The realization that the universe is not a cycle. It is a slide. And the slide goes only one way. Down. Into the dark. Forever. It seems like the ultimate defeat. But it is here at the very bottom of the spiral, in the deepest darkness imaginable, that we find the back door. We find the one thing that entropy cannot kill. We find the perspective shift that turns the horror into something else. Something defiant. We have reached the bottom of the spiral. We have descended through 10 layers of hell. Let us stand here for a moment in the absolute zero of the heat death and look back up at where we came from. Look at the journey we took. It started with your body. We realized that your physical form is fragile. It can be frozen in time by relativity. It can be stretched into a string of atoms by tidal forces. It can be incinerated by the blue sheet of the future. The body is a trap. Then we move to your mind. We realize that your memories are just data and that data can be erased. We face the information paradox and the terrifying possibility that your history can be deleted from the universe. The mind is a trap. Then we move to the reality around you. We realize that space is not a container. It is a wall of fire, or a fuzzball of strings, or a hologram projected from the edge of the cosmos. We realize that the solid ground is just a network of quantum threads that can snap at any moment. Reality is a trap. And finally, we looked at the purpose of it all. We realized that the universe is a factory for making black holes, and we are just the pollution. We realize that the destiny of everything is to freeze and vanish. Purpose is a trap. It seems like we have systematically destroyed every reason to get out of bed in the morning. We have taken away your safety, your history, your reality, and your future. A rational person standing at the bottom of this pit would conclude that existence is a mistake. They would conclude that consciousness is a curse because it allows us to understand our own doom. Why would nature evolve a brain capable of understanding the heat death? It seems cruel. It seems like a sick joke. To give us the intelligence to read the writing on the wall, but not the power to change it. But here is the twist. Here is the pivot point where the horror turns into something else. Look at the black hole again. Really look at it. It is a region where the rules break. It is a region where the impossible happens. And you know what else is an object where the rules break? You. Think about it. In a universe governed by the ruthless laws of thermodynamics, where everything tends toward chaos and disorder, you are a pocket of order. You are a collection of atoms that has organized itself against the flow. You are a biological machine that fights entropy. The black hole pulls things apart. You put things together. The black hole erases information. You create information. You are the mirror image of the monster. You are the anti-black hole. And the fact that you can stand here at the end of time in your imagination and look the monster in the eye is not a defeat. It is a victory. The universe spent 13 billion years building a trap. And in the last second of the last hour, the trap woke up and figured out how the lock works. That is you. Let us push this idea of you as the anti-black hole. We talked about the universe being a computer. We talked about the holographic principle and the idea that reality is code. If the universe is code, then black holes are the delete key. They are the garbage collectors designed to remove data from the system. But you are the reader. You are the compiler. You are the part of the code that has become self-aware. This changes the power dynamic completely. We usually feel small when we look at the cosmos. We look at a black hole millions of times the mass of the sun and we feel insignificant. We think mass equals importance. But mass is just dirt. Mass is cheap. The universe is full of heavy things. Rocks, gas, dust, dead stars. Being heavy is easy. But being complex, that is hard. Being conscious, that is a miracle. If you weigh the universe by mass black holes, win. But if you weigh the universe by complexity, you win. Your brain is the most complex arrangement of matter in the known universe. There is more networking in your skull than in 1,000 galaxies. You are a dense knot of processing power that rivals the strangest phenomena in physics. So, when you look at a black hole, do not look up. Look down. You're looking at a dumb, simple object. It only knows how to do one thing. Crush. You know how to do a million things. You can love. You can hate. You can build. You can destroy. And most importantly, you can understand. The black hole does not know it is a black hole. It does not know the laws of general relativity. It just obeys them blindly. But you know them. You have derived the equations. You have mapped the event horizon. You have calculated the Hawking radiation. You have encompassed the monster inside your mind. In a way, the black hole fits inside your head. The concept of it, the math of it, the horror of it. It is all contained within the electrical firing of your neurons. So, who is really the master? The giant dead rock that sits in the dark? Or the fragile biological spark that figured out the rock's secrets? We are the code breakers. We are the glitches in the system that have started to reverse engineer the operating system. And that makes us dangerous. Not to each other, but to the silence. We are the noise that refuses to be quiet. This leads us to a philosophy called optimistic nihilism. We have stared into the abyss, and we have seen that there is no objective meaning. The universe does not care about us. It does not have a plan for us. We are industrial waste. This sounds depressing. But think about the alternative. Imagine if the universe did have a plan. Imagine if there was a god or a cosmic manager who created us for a specific purpose. That would be a prison. If you were created to be a battery or a worker or a worshipper, then you would be a slave to that purpose. You could fail. You could do it wrong. You could be a bad human. But if there is no purpose, then you are free. If the universe is a chaotic accident, then there is no script you have to follow. You are not an actor in a play written by someone else. You are the writer. The lack of meaning in the cosmos is a blank canvas, and you hold the paint. This realization takes the weight off your shoulders. You do not have to impress the universe. The universe is dead. You do not have to leave a legacy that lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. The black holes will eat it all anyway. This does not mean that nothing matters. It means that the only things that matter are the things you decide matter. If you decide that drinking a cup of coffee is important, then it is the most important thing in the universe. If you decide that being kind to a stranger is meaningful, then it creates meaning where there was none. You are the generator of value in a valueless void. This is the ultimate rebellion against the black hole. The black hole destroys structure. You create structure. The black hole destroys meaning. You create meaning. Every time you laugh, you are spitting in the face of entropy. Every time you create art, you are fighting the heat death. You are a localized reversal of the cosmic flow. And sure, you will lose in the end. The house always wins. The entropy always increases. But the game is not about winning. The game is about how you play while the lights are still on. And right now, the lights are on. The stars are burning. The black holes are sleeping. And you are here. You have a ticket to the greatest show in existence. A show that will never be repeated. And you are not just watching it. You are the show. But we can go deeper than philosophy. We can go back to physics. Back to the quantum mechanics that scared us earlier. Remember the double-slit experiment. Remember that particles do not choose a path until they are measured. They exist in a cloud of probability until an observer looks at them. This led the physicist John Wheeler to propose the participatory universe. He suggested that the universe does not exist independent of us. He suggested that we create the universe by looking at it. Imagine the Big Bang. It happened 13 billion years ago. But for billions of years, there were no eyes to see it. There were no brains to process it. It was just a quantum potential. A maybe. Wheeler argued that by evolving eyes and looking back at the beginning, we act as the observer that collapses the wave function of the past. We are not just the result of the Big Bang. We are the cause of it. We are the loop that closes the circuit. Without us, the universe is a tree falling in a forest with nobody around. It makes no sound. It has no reality. This gives us a terrifying responsibility. We are not just tourists. We are the architects. The black holes exist because we observe the gravity. The stars burn because we observe the light. We are the anchors of reality. This turns the dark forest theory on its head. In the dark forest, we were afraid of being seen. But in the participatory universe, we must see. If we close our eyes, the universe dissolves back into the mist. This means that your consciousness is not a biological accident. It is a fundamental force of nature. It is the engine that keeps the simulation rendering. You are the GPU of the cosmos. And every time you learn something new, every time you discover a new black hole or a new galaxy, you are expanding the territory of the real. You are fighting back the fog of probability. This is why we must explore, not for resources, not for conquest, but to keep the world real, to keep the stage from rotting. We are the custodians of the light, and the black holes are the places where our vision has not yet reached. They are the locked rooms we have not yet opened. And finally, there is one last hope. A theory that suggests the end is not the end. We talked about the heat death, the final evaporation, the time when even the black holes are gone. It seems like a wall. But the Nobel Prize winner Roger Penrose has a different idea. He calls it conformal cyclic cosmology, the CCC. It is based on a strange quirk of geometry. When the universe expands forever and all the matter decays into radiation, we are left with nothing but photons. Light. Photons have no mass. And because they have no mass, they do not experience time. And because they do not experience time, they do not experience distance. To a photon, the size of the universe is zero. It is everywhere at once. Penrose argues that a universe filled only with a radiation loses track of how big it is. It forgets its scale. And when it forgets its scale, the infinite cold void becomes mathematically identical to the infinite hot point of a Big Bang. The end becomes the beginning. The heat death of our universe is the spark of the next one. We are just one aeon in an infinite chain of aeons. And do you know what carries the message from one universe to the next? What is the only thing that survives the reset? Black holes. Penrose suggests that the collisions of massive black holes in our aeon send gravitational waves rippling through the fabric of reality. These waves are so powerful that they might imprint themselves on the next Big Bang. They are messages in a bottle thrown into the ocean of eternity. This means that our black holes are not graves. They are transmitters. They are shouting our story into the next cycle. And maybe if we look closely at the cosmic microwave background, the radiation left over from our own Big Bang, we might find the echoes of the black holes from the universe before us. We might find ghosts of a dead civilization that lived 1 trillion years ago. This changes everything. It means that nothing is truly lost. The information paradox is solved not by saving the data in this universe, but by passing it on to the next. We are part of an eternal rhythm, a heartbeat that never stops. The black holes are the valves in that heart. They crush the old to make way for the new. We will die. Yes, our stars will fade. Yes, but the song continues, and we are the notes in the current measure. We have reached the part of the spiral that usually gets cut from physics documentaries, because we are moving from physical horror to meta-horror. We have assumed throughout this journey that learning the truth is safe. We assume that understanding the false vacuum or the dark forest might be scary, but it does not physically hurt you. It is just information. You are sitting in your chair safe processing data. But there is a class of theories known as information hazards or info hazards, which suggests that this assumption is wrong. An info hazard is a piece of information that can harm you or the universe simply by being known. This sounds like magic. It sounds like a curse from a fantasy novel. But in the age of artificial intelligence and simulation theory, it is becoming a serious topic in philosophy and computer science. Consider the basilisk-style arguments. The logic goes like this. If we are living in a simulation run by a super intelligent AI, or a god that system likely has resource limits, it does not want to waste processing power on uninteresting things. A simulation might be programmed to delete or reset any subroutine that figures out it is in a simulation. Why? Because once a character knows they are in a game, they stop playing the game properly. They become bugged. They might try to hack the code or escape. From the perspective of the simulator, a self-aware character is a virus. By watching this video, by thinking about the interface theory and black holes as glitches, you are effectively raising your hand in the classroom of the universe and saying, I know the secret. If the great filter is not a physical barrier but a cognitive one, then the filter activates exactly when a civilization discovers it. Maybe the reason the universe is silent is because as soon as a civilization understands the true nature of the trap, they are auto-deleted by the system for knowing too much. This creates a paradox. Ignorance is not just bliss. Ignorance is the shield that keeps the server running. Knowledge is a vulnerability. This transforms science from a noble pursuit into a dangerous game of Russian roulette. Every time we smash a particle or solve an equation, we might be triggering a tripwire that was set to go off only when the subject understands the code. We think we are explorers mapping the territory, but maybe we are trespassers reading a forbidden diary. And the owner of the diary is watching. There is also the observer-created hazard. In quantum mechanics, we established that observation affects reality. Some physicists like John Wheeler proposed the participatory universe. We create the universe by looking at it. But what if we look at it with fear? If consciousness shapes the collapse of the wave function and billions of humans start believing that the vacuum is unstable, do we collectively increase the probability of the vacuum collapsing? This is the placebo effect applied to cosmology. If we convince ourselves the universe is a hostile dying trap, do we force the quantum coin to land on death? If this is true, then this video is not just a description of danger. It is an active agent of danger. By spreading these ideas, we are infecting the collective consciousness with a narrative of doom, potentially tilting the quantum scales toward a darker timeline. This is the ultimate information hazard. The theory that believing in a terrifying theory makes it come true. It suggests that the monsters in the dark are powered by our belief in them, and by shining a light on them, we are not scaring them away. We are feeding them. Let us strip away the simulation idea and go back to pure physics. Max Tegmark, a cosmologist at MIT, proposed the mathematical universe hypothesis. The level 4 multiverse. We usually think that physics describes the universe. We have stuff, electrons, stars, and we have math, equations that describe the stuff. Tegmark argues no, there is no stuff. There is only math. When you zoom in on an electron, you do not find a little hard ball. You find a set of numbers: mass, charge, spin. What is holding the numbers? Nothing. The electron is the numbers. The universe is not described by mathematics. It is mathematics. We are living inside a giant geometric structure. You are not a biological being. You are a self-aware substructure of a mathematical object. Your love, your fear, your history. These are just complex correlations between variables in an infinite equation. Why is this terrifying? Because in a purely mathematical universe, possibility equals existence. In math, if an equation has a solution, that solution exists. You do not need to build it. The number 3 exists. You do not need to create a physical 3 for the concept to be real. Tegmark argues that every mathematically consistent structure exists as a physical universe. This means every horror we have discussed, and infinite ones we have not, must exist. Somewhere in the mathematical multiverse, there is a universe that consists entirely of suffering. Somewhere there is a universe where the laws of physics are designed to maximize pain for eternity. Somewhere there is a universe where you are being tortured forever. Why? Because that scenario is mathematically possible. And in the level 4 multiverse, everything possible is real. This leads to the totalitarian principle of physics. Everything that is not forbidden is compulsory. If the laws of logic do not forbid a nightmare, then the nightmare is real. We are not safe because the horrors are unlikely. We are never safe. We are just isolated by the geometry of the equation. You happen to be in a nice part of the math right now. Mostly. But you are connected to those other parts. This destroys the idea of probability. Usually we say it is unlikely that a monster will appear in my room. But in the mathematical universe, there is a version of you in a different coordinate of the multiverse where the monster does appear. And because you are all part of the same equation, are you distinct from that victim? If you are just a pattern and the pattern repeats, then you are experiencing all the horrors at once. But your memory is compartmentalized. You think you are the lucky one. But luck is an illusion in a system where every outcome happens. This theory traps you in an infinite web of existence where every bad thing that can happen is happening right now to a version of you that feels just as real as you do. The black hole is just one specific mathematical structure. But there are structures far worse, structures of pure chaos, and you are woven into them. We talked about the heat death earlier. That is the whimper ending, a slow fade into cold darkness. It is sad but peaceful. But there is another ending derived from the study of dark energy, and it is violent. It is called the Big Rip. Since 1998, we have known the universe is expanding, and the expansion is accelerating. Dark energy is pushing galaxies apart. Currently, dark energy is weak. It pushes galaxies away from each other, but it is not strong enough to push stars away from the galaxy or planets away from the sun. Gravity wins at short distances, but there is a parameter in the equation of state for dark energy called W. If W is less than -1, we are in trouble. This is called phantom energy. It means the density of dark energy increases as the universe expands. The push gets stronger and stronger and stronger. It does not just push the empty space, it starts to push the matter. It becomes a runaway force that eventually overpowers every other force in nature. Gravity, electromagnetism, the nuclear force. Nothing can stand against it. This scenario does not end in silence. It ends in a scream. It ends in the total violent deconstruction of every structure that ever existed. Let us slow down and dissect the anatomy of this specific apocalypse, because the Big Rip is unlike any other end of the world scenario. Usually when we talk about the end of the universe, we talk about things stopping. The heat death is a slow freezing. It is a lack of action. But the Big Rip is the opposite. It is an explosion of action. It is an overdose of energy. To understand it, you have to understand the monster called phantom energy. Dark energy is the force pushing the universe apart. For most of history, it was a gentle push. It was just enough to keep the galaxies moving away from each other. But phantom energy suggests that this force is not constant. It is getting stronger every second. It is accelerating. Imagine you are in a car. The heat death is the car running out of gas and rolling to a stop. The Big Rip is the driver slamming his foot on the accelerator and refusing to lift it until the engine explodes and the wheels fly off. We are currently in the early stages of this acceleration. We can measure it. The galaxies are moving away from us faster today than they were yesterday. Right now, gravity is still strong enough to protect us. The Milky Way is held together by its own mass. The sun holds the Earth. Your body holds itself together. But phantom energy is patient. It is growing. It is filling the empty space with more and more repulsion. Eventually it will cross a critical threshold. The timeline of the Big Rip is a countdown to total deconstruction. It begins with the largest structures, the galaxy clusters. These are massive groups of thousands of galaxies bound by gravity. They are the cities of the cosmos. But about 60 million years before the end, the phantom energy becomes too strong. The gravity between the galaxies snaps. The clusters dissolve. The galaxies are thrown apart into the void. They are now isolated islands in a rapidly expanding ocean. You would not notice this from Earth. The night sky would still look the same, but the clock is ticking. Next comes the galaxies themselves. About 3 months before the end, the repulsive force becomes stronger than the gravity holding the Milky Way together. Think about the violence of that. A galaxy is a spinning disk of 400 billion stars. It has held its shape for 13 billion years, but suddenly, the space between the stars expands so fast that the center cannot hold the edge. The spiral arms are ripped away. The stars are flung out into the darkness. If you looked up at the sky in these final months, you would see the Milky Way band, the beautiful white stripe that has guided humans for millennia, simply vanish. It would be torn apart like a wisp of smoke in a hurricane. The night sky becomes almost perfectly black. There are no more neighbors. There is only the sun and the planets drifting in an infinite expanding silence. We are alone, and the force is still growing. Now the horror comes home. We are in the final minutes of existence. The phantom energy has consumed the galaxy, and now it enters the solar system. The delicate balance between the sun and the planets is shattered. For 4 billion years, the Earth has danced around the sun, held by the invisible rope of gravity. But now, the rope snaps. The space between the Earth and the sun expands faster than gravity can bridge. The Earth is ripped out of its orbit. We drift away into the cold dark. But we do not have time to freeze, because the force is moving inward. In the final seconds, it overpowers the gravity of the planet itself. The Earth is a solid ball of rock and iron. It is held together by its own weight. But the phantom energy ignores weight. It grabs every cubic inch of rock and pulls. The crust cracks open, not in one place, but everywhere at once. The mountains crumble into dust. The oceans boil off into space. The core explodes. The planet does not just break into pieces. It turns into a cloud of expanding debris. And now it is just you. You are floating in the void. You are the last cohesive object in the universe. Your body is held together by electromagnetic forces, chemical bonds, the glue that keeps your atoms sticking to each other. This is a very strong force, much stronger than gravity, but phantom energy is infinite. In the final nanosecond, the space inside your body expands. The distance between your skin and your bones increases. The distance between your molecules increases. You are not just killed, you are dismantled. The chemical bonds snap, your DNA unzips, your proteins unfold. You dissolve into a mist of atoms. But it does not stop there. In the final fraction of a moment, the phantom energy attacks the atoms themselves. It rips the electrons from the nucleus. It rips the protons apart into quarks. It tears the very fabric of space-time until there is nothing left. No distance, no time, no matter. Just a singularity of pure ripping force. The universe ends not with a whimper, but with the loudest scream physically possible. A scream that tears the throat of reality. This is the Big Rip. It is the ultimate victory of expansion over structure. And the terrifying part is that the data from our satellites suggests this might be the most likely outcome. The value of W is perilously close to the phantom zone. We might be living in a car that is already accelerating toward the cliff. But let us assume the Big Rip does not happen. Let us assume the phantom energy is weak. That leaves us with the other option, the slow death, the heat death. And while it is less violent, it is perhaps psychologically more terrifying because of the sheer scale of the time involved. We have to talk about deep time. The human brain is not built to understand large numbers. We can visualize 100 years, maybe 1,000, but we cannot visualize a Google years, a 1 followed by 100 zeros. This is the timescale of the black hole era. Imagine a timeline of the universe that is as long as the equator of the Earth. The entire history of humanity from the Stone Age to now would be smaller than a single atom on that line. The entire life of the sun would be invisible to the naked eye. The vast majority of the timeline is just darkness. It is just black holes drifting in the void, waiting to evaporate. If you were an observer in this era, you would see nothing. No light, no movement, just cold. But you would be trapped there for an eternity. This is the prison of entropy. It is a prison where nothing happens. And because nothing happens, time becomes a torture. Imagine sitting in a dark room for 1 trillion years, then doing it again, then again. And you are not even 1% of the way through the era. This is why the heat death is called the Big Freeze. It is not just about temperature. It is about the freezing of events. The universe runs out of things to do. It has played every card in the deck. It has written every story. It has exhausted every possibility. And now it just sits there. A dead husk floating in the silence. This is the ultimate existential horror. The idea that meaning is a finite resource. We think meaning lasts forever. But if the universe has a finite lifespan, then meaning has an expiration date. There will come a time when the last thought is thought. The last love is felt. And after that, there is only the void. The black holes are the tombstones that mark the grave of the universe. And eventually even the tombstones will crumble. This realization strips away our immortality projects. We build statues to be remembered. We write books to leave a legacy. But who will read the book in the black hole era? Who will look at the statue when the light is gone? The heat death tells us that permanence is an illusion. Everything is temporary, even the universe itself. And we have to find a way to make peace with that. We have to find a way to live in a house that we know is going to burn down. We have reached the turning point. We have looked at the black hole as a monster, as a trap, as a delete key. But now we need to look at it as a mirror. There is a strange loop in quantum mechanics that we cannot ignore. It is the problem of the observer. The equations of physics are just potential until someone looks at them. An electron does not have a position until you measure it. A cat is both dead and alive until you open the box. This suggests that the universe is not a hard, objective reality that exists without us. It suggests that the universe is a participatory drama. It requires an audience to exist. And you are the audience. This changes the power dynamic completely. We usually feel small when we look at the cosmos. We look at the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy, and we feel like dust. We think the black hole is the master and we are the servant. But the physics of the observer suggests the opposite. The black hole is just a cloud of probability. It is a ghost. It only becomes real because you're here to observe its gravity. You're here to measure its light. You are the anchor that pins the black hole to reality. Without you, the universe is a dream that never happens. It is a tree falling in a forest with no ears to hear it. It makes no sound. It has no consequence. This means that your consciousness is not a biological accident. It is a structural necessity. You are the machine that renders the graphics of the world. You are the GPU of the cosmos. Think about the responsibility of that. You are not just a passenger on a dying ship. You are the engine that keeps the ship real. If we close our eyes, the universe dissolves back into the mist of quantum uncertainty. The terror of the black hole is real only because you are brave enough to simulate it in your mind. You are holding the nightmare together. You are the container. And a container is always larger than the thing it contains. So do not fear the dark. You are the one who invented the concept of darkness to contrast with your own light. You are the author of the story, and the black hole is just the ink on the page. Let us push this connection deeper. We feel isolated. We feel like we are separate from the universe. I am in here. The world is out there. The black hole is way over there. But this separation is a biological hallucination. It is a trick of the skin. Physics tells a different story. Look at your hand. Look at the atoms in your skin. Where did they come from? They were not created in the Big Bang. The Big Bang only made hydrogen and helium. Simple gas. The carbon in your cells. The oxygen in your lungs. The iron in your blood. These heavy elements were forged in the hearts of dying stars. They were cooked in nuclear furnaces at millions of degrees. And then, those stars exploded. They went supernova. They scattered their guts across the galaxy, and gravity pulled that dust together to form the Earth. And then the Earth grew food, and you ate the food, and the food became you. You are not living on Earth. You are Earth. You're not looking at the stars. You are the stars looking at themselves. You are a collection of stellar nuclear waste that has organized itself into a sensing machine. This is the ultimate cure for the fear of the void. You cannot die because you were never really born. You are just a temporary arrangement of the eternal energy of the cosmos. When you look at a black hole, you are looking at your brother. You are looking at another endpoint of stellar evolution. The star that became the black hole and the star that became you are part of the same family tree. You are made of the same stuff. You are playing the same game. The black hole chose the path of gravity and silence. You chose the path of complexity and consciousness. But you are both expressions of the same underlying reality. You are the universe experiencing itself from two different angles. One angle is destruction, the other angle is wonder. And as long as you can feel that wonder, the universe is not dead. It is alive. It is thinking. It is feeling the cold of the void through your skin. You are the nerve ending of the cosmos. And your fear of the black hole is just the universe feeling the adrenaline of its own grandeur. But what about the end? What about the heat death? What about the futility of it all? We build civilizations and the black holes eat them. We write songs and the silence swallows them. It seems pointless. It seems absurd. And that is exactly the point. The philosophy of absurdism championed by Albert Camus gives us the weapon to fight the heat death. Camus imagined Sisyphus, the king cursed to roll a giant boulder up a hill forever. Every time he reaches the top, the boulder rolls back down. It is the perfect metaphor for our struggle against entropy. We build order. Entropy destroys it. We build again. It falls again. For eternity. It is torture. But Camus concludes with a shocking sentence. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Why? Because the moment Sisyphus realizes the absurdity of his situation, he becomes free. He realizes that the rock does not control him. His reaction to the rock controls him. If he rolls the rock with sadness, he is a prisoner. If he rolls the rock with a smile, he is a rebel. He is mocking the gods who cursed him. We are Sisyphus. The universe is the rock. The heat death is the hill. We know the rock will roll back down. We know the sun will die. We know the black holes will evaporate. But we push anyway. We build anyway. We love anyway. This is the cosmic giggle. The realization that the situation is so hopeless it loops back around to being funny. We are dancing on the deck of the Titanic, but the music is good and the view is spectacular. There is a dignity in refusing to be crushed by the inevitable. Every time you laugh, you are defying the laws of thermodynamics. Every time you create something beautiful, you are spitting in the face of the void. You are saying, I know I will lose. But I am going to play the game as hard as I can while I have the controller. This makes you dangerous to the darkness. The darkness wants you to be afraid. It wants you to be passive. But you are laughing. You are exploring. You are turning the horror into a joke. And that laughter is the sound of humanity winning the argument against the abyss. So what do we do with this information? Do we hide? Do we despair? No. We attack. We use the only weapon that works against the dark. Curiosity. Fear makes you close your eyes. Curiosity makes you open them. The black hole wants to be a mystery. It wants to be a hidden monster. But we refuse to let it hide. We build telescopes the size of planets. We build colliders that smash atoms at the speed of light. We write equations that describe the inside of the trap. We are mapping the dungeon. This is the bravest thing a species can do. We are small. We are soft. We live for 80 years on a wet rock. And yet we dare to interrogate the infinite. We dare to ask the black hole how much it weighs. We dare to ask the universe how it began. And the universe answers. It has to answer. Because we have the key. The key is mathematics. The key is logic. The key is the relentless human need to know. This is how we survive the existential dread. We turn the dread into data. We take the things that scare us and we dissect them until they are just mechanics. We turn the ghost into a biology specimen. When you understand the Schwarzschild radius, the black hole stops being a monster and starts being a geometry problem. When you understand the heat death, it stops being a tragedy and starts being a timeline. Knowledge is the armor. It does not stop the asteroid from hitting, but it tells us how to build a deflector. It does not stop the sun from dying, but it tells us how to move to another star. As long as we are curious, we are not dead. As long as we are asking questions, we are growing. The universe is vast and cold and indifferent, but it is also a puzzle, and we are the solvers. We are the detectives arriving at the crime scene of reality, and we are not leaving until we figure out who committed the crime of existence. Let us end with a picture. In 2019, humanity did something impossible. We took a photograph of a black hole, the galaxy M87, 55 million light years away. We linked radio telescopes across the entire globe to create an eye the size of the Earth. And we looked into the heart of darkness. And what did we see? We saw a ring. A blurry orange donut of glowing plasma surrounding a perfect circle of black. That image is the most important photograph ever taken. It is not just scientific data. It is a portrait of our enemy, and it is a portrait of our victory. That black circle is the event horizon. It is the edge of the known universe. It is the place where space ends and time stops. It is the mouth of the beast that eats stars. But the orange ring, that is us. That is the light of matter, fighting against the gravity. That is the radiation of the universe refusing to go quietly into the night. And the fact that we saw it. The fact that a species of hairless apes on a small blue planet could build a machine to see the unseeable. That is the miracle. When you look at that photo, do not just see a distant object. See yourself. See the collective genius of thousands of years of human struggle. That orange ring is the halo of human curiosity burning in the dark. It is a message sent from us to the void. It says, we see you. We know you. And we are not afraid. We have stared into the abyss, and the abyss blinked. We have captured the ghost on film. And now that we can see it, we can understand it. And now that we can understand it, we can live with it. The black hole is no longer a myth. It is just a thing. A heavy thing. A dangerous thing. But a thing. And we are the things that name the stars. We are the things that hold the fire. We are the orange ring surrounding the shadow. And we will keep burning until the last photon fades. Let us take one final look at the map. We have traveled a long way together. We started on the surface of the earth, trusting the ground beneath our feet. And then, we jumped. We fell through the layers of reality one by one. Remember the frozen star where time stopped and you became a ghost on the horizon? Remember Spaghettification where your body was pulled into a long, thin stream of atoms? Remember the blue sheet where the history of the future burned you to ash? We survived the physical trap only to fall into the mind trap. We faced the information paradox and the horror of deletion. We faced the firewall and the end of space. We faced the fuzzball and the unraveling of our strings. And then we fell even deeper into the ontological trap. We saw the hologram. We realized we might be flat data projected from the edge of the universe. We saw the network of entanglement stitching space together. We saw the factories of cosmological natural selection churning out universes like cheap toys. And finally we saw the end. The black hole era. The heat death. The big rip. The silence. It is a lot to take in. It is a vertigo of the soul. You might feel dizzy. You might feel small. You might feel like the ground is still moving. That is good. That feeling is the truth breaking through the illusion. You have seen the machinery behind the curtain. You know the secret. The universe is not a safe house. It is a wild, dangerous, and possibly dying storm of energy and math. But look at where you are standing now. You are at the bottom of the spiral. And you are still here. You are still thinking. You are still conscious. The journey did not kill you. It woke you up. You have integrated the horror. You have swallowed the black pill of physics, and you have not dissolved. This proves that the human mind is stronger than the universe it inhabits. The universe can crush a star, but it cannot crush an idea. And you are the carrier of the idea. You are the vessel that holds the map. By understanding the spiral, you have conquered it. You are no longer a victim of the black hole. You are its biographer. So what now? What do we do with the knowledge that the world is a trap? We look at the clock. Yes, the heat death is coming. Yes, the black holes will evaporate. Yes, the big rip might tear us apart. But not today. And not tomorrow. And not for 1 billion years. We are living in the golden age of the cosmos. We are living in the stelliferous era. The era of starlight. This is the brief window of opportunity between the fiery birth and the icy death. It is a tiny slice of time, but it is our slice. We have won the lottery of chronology. We could have been born in the chaos of the early universe when radiation would have cooked us instantly. We could have been born in the black hole era when there were no stars to warm us. But we were born now, right in the middle of the party. The lights are on. The music is playing. The drinks are cold. To spend this time worrying about the end is a waste of the ticket. Imagine you are on a roller coaster. You know the ride will end. You know you have to get off. You know the park will close. Does that mean you should scream in terror for the entire ride? Does that mean you should close your eyes and refuse to look at the view? No. It means you should scream with joy. You should throw your hands in the air. You should feel the wind. Because the ride is finite, it is precious, Infinity is cheap. If the party lasted forever, it would be boring. The fact that the stars will die makes every photon they emit valuable. The fact that you will die makes every breath you take a defiance of the void. We are the lucky ones. We are the ones who get to see the show. So do not look at the black hole and see death. Look at it and see the deadline. The deadline that tells you to live, to explore, to learn, to feel, right now. Because the clock is ticking and the seconds are diamonds. I want you to walk away from this video with one core belief. You are the anomaly. The universe naturally tends toward chaos, toward entropy, toward silence. Most of the universe is empty space. Most of the matter is dead gas. Most of the time is dead future. But you are a dense knot of complexity. You are a rare crystal of order growing in a solution of disorder. Statistically, you should not exist. The probability of your atoms coming together to form a brain that can understand general relativity is so low that it is indistinguishable from zero. You are a glitch in the thermodynamics. You are a fluctuation that should have been smoothed out, but you persisted. You fought the tide. You are a walking, talking miracle of improbability. Do not let the size of the cosmos trick you into feeling small. Size is just space. You are quality. You are depth. You are the universe focusing itself into a point of intense clarity. When you look in the mirror, you are looking at the only thing in the universe that can look back. You are the eyes of the storm. The black holes are the blind spots. You are the vision. So stand tall. You are not an accident. Or if you are an accident, you are the happiest accident in the history of existence. You are the universe realizing it is awake. And that realization gives you a power that no black hole possesses. The power to choose. The black hole must eat. The star must burn. The planet must orbit. But you can choose to create. You can choose to understand. You can choose to be brave. You are the captain of the only ship that has a steering wheel. This channel is not just about science. It is about that choice. It is about choosing to look into the dark and not blink. We are building a community of the curious, a community of the brave. We are the explorers of the deep time and the deep space. We are the ones who refuse to accept the comforting lies. We want the hard truth even if it scares us, especially if it scares us. If you made it to the end of this spiral, then you are one of us. You have the stomach for the abyss. You have the mind for the paradox. Do not go back to sleep. Do not go back to the illusion of the solid ground. Stay here with us on the edge. Subscribe to the expedition. Join us as we map the trap. Next time, we will look at something even stranger than black holes. We will look at the possibility that time itself is an illusion, and that the past and the future are happening simultaneously. We will break the clock, just like we broke the map. But for now, rest. You have survived the fall. You have seen the bottom, and you have returned. You are a veteran of the psychological war against entropy. Wear that badge with pride. The universe is big. It is scary. It is broken. But it is ours. And we are going to figure it out one glitch at a time. So, tonight, when you go to sleep and you turn off the lights, take a moment to feel the darkness. Do not fear it. Respect it. It is the natural state of things. But remember that you are the spark. You are the resistance. You are the ghost in the machine that refuses to fade. The black holes are waiting at the end of time. They are patient. They are hungry. They will eventually win. The stage will rot. The lights will go out. The curtain will fall. But not yet. Not yet. We have miles to go before we sleep. And we have a lot of noise to make before the silence takes us. Look up at the stars. They are dying. But they are shining so bright. Be like the stars. Burn. Shine. Defy the dark. And never forget that the mere fact that you are here to be terrified is the greatest victory imaginable. You are the glitch. You are the anomaly. You are the observer. And as long as you are watching, the movie is not over. Sleep well. The void is watching, but you are watching back.